In this video, we're going to talk about the struggles of being a creative and posting your stuff on the internet for the first time. So I wanted to take one of these early videos to really talk about a topic that relates to me specifically and to people probably in a very similar position to me, which is have a lot of ideas, wanted to make things for a long time, and never really took the plunge, never really went about making it, just doing it, so to speak, and putting it on the internet so that others can see it, give criticism, give feedback, like it, not like it, be people responding to this creative thing that you make. It feels like it's a unique kind of position to comment on because a lot of the content creators on various platforms are always talking about like, oh, you need to do this or you need to be that. And for me, I wanted to just keep it casual and talk about how I'm feeling right now and how others probably also feel, and let you know that if this is how you feel about going about this process, you are definitely not alone and you should definitely stick with it. So first off, I wanted to go about talking about fears, which are just really apparent and really they happen early, they persist throughout, and they get better, but they never go away. Just listing off some fears, you get this fear of having inexperience doing things like posting to an Instagram feed or posting to a Twitter feed or making YouTube content and whatnot, or dealing with any of those platforms or formatting any of the data, or just posting animated GIFs to Twitter or Instagram ends up being a bit of a chore. It is a process, and there is a lot of fear in what you don't know, but that is something that you can overcome, and that you overcome all of these through learning. The biggest thing I've ever really figured out from going through this process so far is that everything seems very frightening at first, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't really know where you're going, but you know maybe where to start, or you can at least come up with a Google search query. Like, you can figure out where to start figuring things out. And if you have a passion for figuring things out, you can get past this barrier of inexperience and the fear of inexperience, because the more you do it, the more familiar it's going to be, the easier it's going to come, the faster you'll get at it, and the more you'll be able to do. And it's one of those things that working through that fear really helps you grow as a person and really helps you get going in these creative efforts that you want to take. Unfortunately, there's no other fears in terms of you don't know where to start necessarily. You say, I want to make this creative thing. I have at least a few ideas I'd like to be kicking around and turning into something that exists in the world, but where do I start? What do I make first? What is a foundation for a project? What is a foundation for a social media platform? What is a foundation for building any kind of visibility of my stuff or interacting with any kind of community? And it's really difficult to kind of figure that out. But again, if you take the time, take 10 steps back, 20 steps back if you need to, and an extra day or two to think about, okay, where would I go if I were looking at this stuff, or if I was going to try and find this stuff? In many cases, a lot of people that have all these ideas and are creative in terms of wanting to make things are also people that are interested in what other people are making. So just take that kind of knowledge about where you would go to find this yourself and just branch from there and try and figure out where you can be participating in communities that will want to see this kind of stuff. Of course, those communities are going to be open in many cases, and there's a lot of friendly people in those communities, but there's also this fear in the back of your mind. Again, I'm going on about fears right now. Fear in the back of your mind when you're putting stuff on the internet, that the internet is a mean place, and it can be. It can definitely be a mean place. And so one of the greatest fears a creative person probably ever has about posting their stuff on the internet is this fear of overcriticism that you saw, when you were making this thing over 3, 5, 10, 30 hours, whatnot. You saw, okay, I took a shortcut here, or I just said, okay, that part is good enough, I'm going to move on to something else, even though you think you could probably make it better. And you probably could, but you think that posting it on the internet is going to immediately see the 10, 20, 30 things that you did that on, and immediately call you out, and you'll be labeled a fraud, and everything will be terrible, and nobody will want to see your stuff again, and you just go to your room and cry, and it will be terrible. You're going to get criticism one way or the other. Sometimes it's constructive. Ideally, it's constructive. Sometimes it's overly critical for no real good reason. But there's things you can take from all of that kind of criticism, and you should be able to take benefits even from over criticism. And at the end of the day, if you're going to put your creative ideas out there and you're going to do something with them and you're going to make something out of them, you can't please everybody. And there's going to be those that want you to fail. There's going to be those that want to say, oh, I could do it better. There's going to be those that are going to try and call you out as not doing this well or not doing it good enough, or why would you even try? And at the end of the day, you need to answer that question for yourself before you ever really post on the internet in terms of, sharing your content, because you're going to get those over criticisms. And if you've already answered the question for yourself, it does help kind of mitigate the damage that those comments can do. And then once you get going, you feel like, I want to post more. I want to actually be, getting this thing going, getting more ideas out there. But there's, again, going back to fears, there's this fear of the ability to keep up. Let's say you post 1, 2, 5, 10 things, and they do pretty well, and each one does a little bit better, and each one kind of gets more response, and people care a little bit more about what you're doing. You have this fear of well, man, I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, and it's getting a little taxing, and it's taken away from time that I don't feel like I have in the first place. Man, maybe I won't be able to keep up. And to that I say, especially when you're starting out, for myself, I'm trying to hold myself accountable to some kind of schedule in terms of keeping up with posting to various social media platforms and creating YouTube content and just being involved in communities. But if you need to take time back, you should. You should cover your mental health. You should be careful about what you can and can't do, and you should be honest with yourself. And if the rate at which you are putting out content is too slow for the people that are consuming it, that's a great problem to have. So you should actually take heart in the fact that if you can't keep up, it's because you're doing better than you can handle. And there are possible solutions to help you with that problem, but you are doing well. So that's my thoughts on posting your stuff to the internet for the first time or for the 10th time or for however many times you're trying to do it in the future. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are in terms of what you've dealt with, fears, struggles, benefits you've encountered from going through the process. So go ahead and leave comments about that below this video. If you like what you see here, go ahead and thumbs up the video, comment on what you think of my opinions on it, and possibly subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more. Also, I'm interested in what other subjects people might be interested in me talking about, so go ahead and leave comments as to what you might want me to talk about or discuss in terms of my projects or in terms of being a creative or going into this process. I'd love to know about those. But until next time, have fun and keep working.